Hi. I'm going to talk a little bit about drought tolerance. So this tree right behind me, that has only gotten maybe watered twice or three times this whole summer, and we had a very hot summer. And that tree and this tree, you can see, I mean, yes, it would like to have some more water, but, and it just got some today. I finally came out and gave it some water. But what helps that is behind me here is a huge wall, and that is called hugelkultur. And so from down here, I mean, we're about 12 feet taller than I am. And then we have pallets going up 4 feet above that. And those pallets, they work to help to create some shade. And those are also going to be a trellis. I've just been installing that feature recently. And so, but this whole mound behind me is full of the waste from society. You know, it's truckloads of branches and leaves and all sorts of fantastic stuff. And so, nature doesn't want to see bare ground. And so some of these areas that were bare ground. All right, so this is another hugelkultur mound. Am I in the way here? So, and right now I'm standing on top of about 8 feet of fill material, logs, branches, leaves, cardboard, food scraps, all the waste from grocery stores, stuff like that. And you can see, well, I hope you can see. Let's see here if I can get out of the light. Sometimes, there's like little cave-ins, and that's the dirt that's finding its way down into the cracks and crevices. And some of these plants aren't what I want to see here, but nature doesn't really care what you want to see all the time. But I mean, like that right there, I didn't plant it, I haven't watered it, but it's food, and it's called mallow. And those little flowers right there, those are pretty fantastic. So let's see. I don't know if you can see this or not. I can't see nothing on here. But yeah, anyway, it's food. Yeah, it's growing. It's one of my favorite ones. I love to make salads out of that. But some of it is really even pretty kind of pretty. Like this. I didn't plant that. I don't know what it's called. I think that's like a Russian thistle. And you don't want to get that. You don't want to walk through that bare without pants on, right? And this is Jerusalem artichoke, and this section has not gotten watered as much as it would like. It's only been watered once all summer, and this section did get watered a little heavier, and so it's kind of thriving. And so what we're going to do here is, because I'm right here, I'm going to take this bucket and we're going to get some water, because I'm going to show you something here in a minute that I didn't even plant. And I really didn't even expect anything to be growing right there. But it has. And it's thriving. And it's just, this hugelkultur has been here now. This one here I started about 4 years ago. I mean, there's some videos way down there in the feed or in the video section that show it not complete yet. These started off as, this started off as a hillside, and so what I did is I started to terrace it, and then at the edges of the terraces I started digging trenches, and the trenches, they're as long as the contour of the land promoted, and they started off about 4 feet deep and 3 to 4 feet wide. And so in those, I just put an ad on Craigslist. I said, hey, bring your yard waste to me instead of paying to get rid of it at the landfill. And people said, okay, that's awesome. And I've met so many people, hundreds of people. And they come up and they drop off their organic material, logs, leaves, branches. I think I've already said all that. And one of the things that they, they're learning a little bit about it. And like, some people that were bringing me their things, they had property like me, but they didn't know what to do with truckloads of grass clippings. And they were living on a hill. And I said, well, hey, if you just make mounds along, your hillside, and where water can come down and hit into that, it's going to help you create better soil. And so I'm going to put this hose where it will do better things than leaving it over there. I don't know if you can actually see anything I'm doing here. I don't know. But I just kind of flood irrigate it, as I give it some time. But I mean, like that right there, I didn't plant it. It just said, hey, I'd like to live here. I said, okay. I think that's called pigweed right there. But it covers the ground, and that's what you want in the desert. And, because bare soil, oh, look at that. There's more mallow. And there's more mallow, right? And so, I mean, like all of this stuff, I could harvest it. I could freeze it. Or I could dry it out. I can add it into stews. I can do all sorts of things. But look how pretty that is, I don't know if this camera's on this little notebook that I'm carrying is going to do it justice. But, I mean, there's all sorts of things growing. And some of them, yeah, it just looks like weeds. But you know what? Weeds are often of medicinal or sometimes of food value. And, they're sometimes labeled invasive. And, well, when you have a deserted landscape with nothing on it, if something comes in and says, hey, I can thrive here, we should let it. And at the minimum, you're building a nitrogen builder. You're building something that you can chop and drop. You can just, you can throw it on the ground and you can leave it there. And maybe Better Homes and Gardens is going to say, that's not the way we don't print pictures like that, because it needs to be perfect. Everything has to be green grass, because nothing that you can eat should be growing in your yard. I mean, that's what has been advertised to us. So, but what has been advertised to us isn't necessarily what's healthiest for us. And for us, right? So I'm creating a food forest because that's what's healthier for us, right? For us is food. For us is medicine. For us is green ground cover. For us are things that maybe we didn't even know that we didn't know it, right? Or was that? Maybe there are things that we don't even know that we don't know until we know them, And if we recognize that, then we're open to learning, and we're open to experiencing new things. And so I got to be kind of careful as I walk through here, because sometimes you do fall into the holes that the squirrels and stuff make. But look at this. This area right here has not gotten any water. And yet it's thriving. It's producing fruit. It's producing food. And that's just a hole in the ground. I dug a hole in the ground with a backhoe. And we got mallow right next to it. I've been mining the rocks, like you've seen in probably some of the other videos if you spend any time on the channel. And this hasn't gotten any water. This is the first water that I'm going to give it all year long. I have not done anything with this. I've been still shaping this land. But I stopped digging right here because this said, hey, I'd like to live here for a while, and all I need is a little bit of space, and if you think about it, give me a little bit of water. And so that's what we're going to do right now, is I'm just going to use gravity. And I don't even know if you can. Let's see here. I like to share what I'm doing with you, but man, it's a pain in the ass when if you don't have somebody following you around a little bit with a camera. So we're going to take a hydraulic oil bucket, because that's like the lifeblood of a backhoe, a tractor, right? And so, I don't know. I'm just going to try. And so I have just a bucket with water I filled up here. And I'm just going to kind of pour it out over this hill. And I'm not trying to cause any erosion. I'm just trying to get a big surface area covered with water. Because that's what we always want to do. We want to spread it out. You know, that prevents erosion. And it gives it a chance to soak in rather than just run away. And so a lot of the features that I've installed here, that's what they're intended to do too. So every one of these terraces is sunken in the middle. You know, it's like a bowl. And in the wintertime, I get a lot of water. But then it used to just run away. You know, the snow would melt and it would, it would just run off and go flood the neighbor's house or turn the rivers brown and do that kind of stuff. So what I started doing is I started catching the water that falls on the land and let it soak and create features, just, you know, basically holes or flat spots, aqueducts, retention, little basins. You know, it's like little check dams, whatever you want to call them. Just don't call them a pond, because that would be illegal. And a pond is intended for that water to stay at the surface for you, right? And the ecology department, they found out what I was doing here, and I spoke at a meeting about over the hill, the wells are drying up for the farmers, and so the solution of the county is to hire a consultant to figure out how much it's going to cost to build a canal to go from the river and bring that water to the farmers and charge them for it, right? And so I stood up at the meeting. I was like, hey, or we can just use the equipment that we have available to us. You know, a lot of farmers, they have equipment. You know, they have stuff to move dirt around, because that's what farmers do. So we move dirt around and we plant stuff and we do stuff like that. And so when we do stuff like that, if we do it in a way that the winter water is captured and it soaks into the aquifer, if it soaks into the ground rather than running off and the wind's blowing, let's shovel a rock underneath there so it won't make you sick, make you feel like you're on a boat. And so I stood up and I said, hey, this is what I've been doing. I've been terracing, I've been mulching, I've been doing hugelkultur, I've been creating shade with the junk from society, you know, pallets and concrete blocks and rocks and whatever I can get to create shade, and it's helping the moisture to stay on the property and stay here and make it useful. And this lady, she came up to me after the meeting, and she says, oh, I would love to check out your model. And none of the farmers seemed too interested. They're like, oh man, it's going to suck that we have to pay a lot of money for water, but there's nothing else we can do because that doesn't make sense. That's not what I was taught in college. I'm like, I know. I learned from the universe, from a beaver, instead of a university from some dude that, that doesn't really know what he's doing. The beaver knows. The beaver knows to hold water to the land, and it makes it a healthy, hydrated landscape and abundant for everybody. And since this plant is so big, we're gonna go fill this up again. And I don't know how well you can see this, but there's like 4 big mounds, and all of them are like 8 feet deep, 4 feet wide. This one is about 150 feet long. The next one down is probably 120 feet long. The next one down is like 80 feet long. The next one down is probably 40 to 45 feet long. And I didn't really didn't really plan it out that way, but from the aerial photographs, it looks like Superman's shield, like on his chest. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Well, I try to be super, because I think it's super to be human. And if we are doing things consciously, instead of just the way we've been told by somebody somewhere else, we can really thrive. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to do. So anyway, this lady, she says, oh, and I'm from the ecology department. And right away I'm like, oh shit. I've heard of people being thrown in jail for this kind of stuff. And she says, I would love to come and check out your project. And I'm like, I've learned to trust. I've learned to trust in God. Trust that everything can be an opportunity if that's what you see it as. And so I said, what, yes, yeah. When would you like to come out? And she's like, well, hey, how about Thursday? And I said, okay, that'd be fine. And so she shows up, and nice person, nice person. We were walking around, and I'm in pretty good shape, and she wasn't in bad shape. I mean, but you could tell that she was a little winded after exploring all of the aqueducts and the diversions and the erosion prevention methods that I've been using. And so then we came up to one of the really big retention areas, and she says, wow, this is it's a really big hole you have there. Because we're talking, it's 20 feet deep, 25 feet deep, and maybe 80 feet across. And it's what catches everything that the hugel culture can't. I'm laughing because my shorts are falling. Oh shit! And then I fell in a hole. So I got a camera or the laptop in one hand, and 6 gallons of water in the other hand. And now we're gonna see about putting that rock in there again, so you don't get sick. And I'll pull my pants back up so I don't look like a gang member or a prison guy. So she says, well, that's a big pond you have there. I said, no, that's not a pond. I said, she's like, what? It kind of looks like a pond. I said, well, it doesn't have any water in it right now, right? And she's like, well, no, but it could, right? I mean, because if you've designed it to catch water. I said, no, I haven't designed it to catch water. I've designed it to slow down the water and allow it to soak in. She says, well, you could sprinkle some clay over the top of it, or you could invest in a liner, and then that would help you to hold water in it. And I said, well, my belief is that the water is best to be soaked in to the landscape as much as it can absorb, and that way it works to replenish the water in the aquifer that has been for at least the last several hundred years being just washed away, and and help the neighbors with their wells as well, right? Because my middle name is Will. Will I am, and I am meaning and intending to repair landscape and also help people to become healthy and happy and hydrated and abundant in everything that they do. So after we walked around, and at the big retention area, the catch basin, the soakage pit, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's anything but a pond. She says, well, Rob, she says, this really looks good. She says, this is, the ideas that you have are pretty fantastic, but do you think they'll actually work? And I said, they do. I said, they do. I said, that big hole has been filled 3 times. 3 times so far since I've dug it, it's been completely full of water. And it takes 7 to 9 days for it to drop all the way in. But between that feature and the terraces and all of the mulching and the hugelkultur and all of these features that I've been installing, I've just done a rough calculation that well over 1 million gallons of surge coming off of that mountain up there. Because what you see is the ridge isn't the ridge. That's just a heave or a rise. And then it goes up for another half mile. So, I mean, this is a big watershed. And I'm at the bottom of it. And by being at the bottom of it, it used to just be a violent torrent that washed across my property. It caused damage, and the water was just here and then gone within 3 or 4 days. And it went just through the path of least resistance, which was the valleys. And in these valleys, it doesn't give enough time, that retention time, to allow the water to soak in. You know, I mean, it's only there for a couple of days, and it was cruising through there. So by changing how we do things a little bit, we're able to change our environment, right? And when we change our environment, we can get it into a healthier a benefit, right? And let's see, which way should we go? All right, let's go this way, and because we came the other way. So this is another area that, you know, I mine for rocks, and so I use these rocks that I pull out of the ground, and I've been creating all sorts of cool stuff with them. You have to check out the other videos for that. And I'm going to just show you some of this stuff around here. You know, I mean, used pallets. I go into the industrial areas, and they've strengthened my fencing when I had my goats in there. And this one right here, this is just a couple of used pallets that became a milking station, and also helped me with the ability of trimming up my goat hooves all by myself, you know. I mean, so then this is an area here. You've seen this area in a video, mining for rocks and happiness. This is another area that I've right over here. We're gonna just do the best I can with pointing to stuff because I can't see the screen. So over here and over here, I dug really big trenches and I piled all that material right there in the middle, right? And so then as I've been taking this material down, I'm using the rocks. I'm using the little rocks for the roads. I'm using the big rocks for the projects. And let's run up here to this garden here real quick. This is a triple tiered garden that has been in place for a little while. And, you know, we got some little trees, and we've got a lot of rock walls that we've stacked. And that tree just popped up all by itself. The yarrow comes up by itself. This tree I planted. This is a cool little thing with a couple of truck beds. I didn't want to see them go to the scrap yard, so I got that tree for my sister. And I just broke up a bunch of mushrooms, spread them out, because you know, if you inoculate more areas, there's a good chance that more mushrooms will grow. More mallow. These are trees of heaven. Some people call them a tree of hell, but they're actually a really beneficial tree because they grow with low water. They provide shade, and they drop all of their leaves and branches every year. So this is some of the food waste from the grocery stores, and I get tons and tons and tons of this. And so these trenches that I dug are full of branches and boxes and onions and everything, right? And so I get all the free rocks and some basic irrigation, just because why not, right? And these pallets aren't in their final place yet, but they're where they are for right now. So, and then like right now, this is kind of an idea I had to make chicken runs out of pallets. And so I'll be tying those together and extending those along the hillsides. And basically it's just like a long chicken coop. And let's see, right here, there's a motorhome that I bought for $200, and it's providing shade for like little maple trees, stuff to actually start growing, and more pallets. And then if you see down here, I don't know if this camera is going to pick it up or not, but that's a water line coming into a barrel that's inside the ground. And so we're going to turn that valve off because we've watered that field enough for today. And then we cover it up to keep the mice and the animals and stuff out of there, keep them from drowning. But been building lots of walls. And once the pallets are out of the way, it'll look nice. And so what else is going on here? Oh, okay. We got some more water right here, that little raised bed. And we're going to go turn the water off to that one. And since I had a hose, so one of the things you want to do is fire remediation. And so I had a bunch of dry grasses here. And so I burned some of them off. And you don't want to get close to your little projects. So here's another little tree. Just this popped up in my garden, and it wasn't what I wanted to see growing in my garden, so I dug it up and moved it. And you can see the upper side of that wall, that first one I showed you. So from this side, you're only up about 6 or 8 feet from the terrace. But yeah, kind of cool. So same thing. This is just a barrel with water pipe in it. And the reason I do that is because here in the wintertime, it gets really, really cold. And here's another little feature, right? Here's some goldfish. This is just a little stock tank that somebody gave me. And so I bought a bunch of goldfish over at Petco for like, God, I think they're $0.25 a piece or 20 cents a piece or something. And so what I do is whenever I come over into this garden, I need to water a little bit more often. But like right now, we're standing on top of about 12 feet of debris. Right? It's branches and brush and stuff. And then I cover it with cardboard, and I cover it with dirt, and then I plant stuff on top of it, and I plant stuff on it that I like to eat, or I just stuff that grows easy, stuff that's drought tolerant, like rhubarb. It's actually pretty drought tolerant. Then I get other cool stuff, like a guy bringing some stuff. He brought me some free firewood, and another guy brought me this stump. That stump weighs probably, oh God, well, I don't know. I mean, probably about at least 1,500 or 2,000 pounds. Maybe 1,000 pounds. I don't know. I didn't weigh it, but man, it was really heavy. So there's so many resources available, and a lot of people are paying to throw away usable stuff. So like right here, there's another guy. He said, "Hey, do you want a bunch of cedar shingles?" I said, "Well, yeah." "What are you gonna use them for?" I said, I don't know yet. But then I had an idea. And another guy, he said, hey, do you want a bunch of these logs? I said, yeah. I learned to say yes on a lot of stuff, right? And so by learning to say yes on a lot of stuff, you start to realize that there's an abundance available to us that's given to us. And so I started building this thing. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see this. I don't know how wide this angle is. Like I said, I can't see nothing on this. So, but I'm starting to build like this little cordwood house, a little cabin. It'll be like an Airbnb type of an experience. And so then, and then another guy said, hey, do you want some bricks? I said, sure. And then I realized that the shingles, they work good to keep dirt, away from the wood that I'm trying to protect. And there's my friend's axe. I found that. So we were looking for that the other day. So I'm going to let him know that I found it, and it's no longer missing in action. Anyway, that's actually, you know what? No, we're not done yet. We are not done yet, but I'll run. Well, jog, because I don't want my pants to actually fall. Another person said, hey, do you want some fencing? I said, yes, of course. If I were to go to Home Depot and buy those, I'd be hundreds of dollars. Another person said, hey, do you want some rocks? I can't bring them to you, but if you want to come get them, you can have them. And so started building that. And another person said, hey, I got these willow trees I need to cut down. Can you cut them down? I said, of course. Yes, of course. And so I started building a little sweat lodge. And more rocks. This is what we're talking about with mining. And more willow branches. And I use those for my fire pit right up over here. And some apple bins, because somebody said, hey, do you want some apple bins? I said, of course. And we have some irrigation. And on the other side of that hole right there, let's see, can you see over there? That's where my swimming hole is going to be. But you're going to just kind of come and visit with me for a minute still while we explore some of the other stuff here. And so this is all, a little bit happens all the time. And sometimes rocks just fall out of the sky, and so then they need to get stacked up somewhere else. They fall out of the backhoe bucket. And then I dig holes. I throw a bunch of stuff in there, and then that's going to become a fire one day. And I'll burn that all out. But basically that hole is going to actually get a hot tub. I'm going to put the hot tub in there, and then I'm going to line it, and it's going to be a fish pond. And then over here, that little tree said, hey, I'd like to live here. And I said, okay. And then I think that's rosemary and some rhubarb and some sunflowers that say, hey, I'd like to see some more water, please. And another big stump that somebody said, hey, do you want this? I said, of course. And so I dug a hole and I put it in upside down. And so now we have another barrel here. And so we turn off that valve, and that turns off the sprinklers in this area. And I like to get up there, and that's what I use as a space for meditation. Look over the valley, calm, get connected with my breath, get connected with what I'm wanting to build in my life, step away from all of the stimulus that the world pushes on us sometimes. And when you build stuff like this, like right here, that rock was sticking out farther than the rest of them, because then I can step up and I can walk out through that. And now here's a bunch of mint. This is my zone 1 garden, basically. And that bathtub, it has a bunch of weeds in it, right? Because that's what I use bathtubs for. How about you? And that tub has weeds in it, and so that's making mulch or fertilizer. And these are the little pucks right here from coffee stands, right? And so I've been picking up coffee for 8 years, probably. I don't know how many hundreds of pounds that I picked up. And let's stay away from the water because the laptop probably isn't going to be beneficial for that, right? And then in my gardens, I dig holes, and then as my household compost builds up, it goes into these holes. And there's another one, and we're almost getting ready to get wet. But that was last year's cabbage plants that I didn't rip them out of the ground, and they just started making more cabbage. And here's my ability of we should focus on our own health too, right? And beating up a bag is a great way to build health. And there's another video, I think, on the labyrinth. And there's some more mint. You can see there's a bunch of bottles here. People look at bottles and they say, "Oh my God, look at all that trash! Look at all of that trash!" Right? But let me show you what can happen when. Oh, let's look at the aquaponics here real quick too. All right, so this is an aquaponic system. I don't know if you're probably not going to be able to see it, but like right straight down in that water, there's some koi. They're about 10 inches long, and they poop. And there's goldfish in there too. And oh look, here's some tomatoes that are ready for the picking, and I'm gonna enjoy that. Oh, I got me a green one too. Well, so, and then this apricot tree right here. This year I didn't get any. Well, I got like 2 or 3 apricots, and I had to blow the ants off of it and wash them off to enjoy it. But this grew from a seed. One of the seeds just from one of the apricots we ate, it came off the porch, and it started growing into this tree. And I said, well, all right, I like apricots now, so let's do that. Oh, and that's fantastic. Like candy. It's free. Oh, and I just spit on my computer. So you're not supposed to talk and chew at the same time, right? The other thing too here, right? So right here, this is a willow. Well, and this was just a willow stick, but now I put it in my cloning tank here, which is a bathtub full of rocks with a little bit of dirt mixed in. And I throw seeds in there, and I throw sticks in there, and like, right, you can't just pull that stick out of there, right? Because it's now a tree. And so once it starts raining again here, and so it'll get watered more than I'm capable of watering everything. I'll be transferring all of the trees that have been growing in the aquaponics cloning chamber onto the property. And the willows are fantastic. They do need water, right? And so what I do is I place those in all low-lying areas. And they store water too, So I mean, when they suck all the water up, but then they also share, And so, yeah, here's, again, I mean, like this, you can just take, you take something and you just eat it. And it's good. And it's healthy. And it's full of life energy. It's not dead. It hasn't been dead for weeks at the grocery store where you have to pay a fee to consume it, right? To consumer it. So we can either eat from the source for free, or the grocery stores for a fee. And because it sounds right, people are just doing it normally. This is a currant bush. It just said, "Hey, I'd like to live here." I said, "All right, that's a good enough spot for you." And it's growing pretty healthy. I mean, it's well, it's in we're coming into fall now, and these are all strawberries, and so all those bottles, like what are you gonna do with those bottles? That's just trash. Oh my God, have you ever seen the Earth ships in Taos, New Mexico? Well, if you mix some concrete and you set bottles, they become walls. And these walls are little because I've just not made enough concrete to stack all my bottles up. But I mean, I've got a lot of bottles. And all of these bottles here, the ones going this way, the ones up there, the ones right here, and the ones right here, that was the waste from one small coffee shop in one town on one street, and that was in 1 year. So, I mean, I got probably 6,000 or 7,000 bottles at least. And it was all free. I would stop by every couple of days and I would stack them up. And if I missed showing up, they would call me. They would say, "Hey, Rob, we've got too much. You need to come and get these. And if we're going to do this, you need to be here consistently." And I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're making so much trash that I can't keep up, but I'll be there, And so, that's the thing. It takes consistency. It takes consistent input, and that's the only way that we can really do stuff. And so, here is more willow trees. And so these are all ones that I just cut, and I'm trying another cloning technique of sticking them in dirt and keeping them wet, because that makes sense, right? Willows are very easy to propagate. And anyway, all right, so yeah, and this is my house. It took me just over a year, and I built this thing, and we can do a lot of things if we put our minds to it, or put our energy to it. I had never built a whole house, and I didn't do it by myself. I mean, I had some friends, and I had an electrician friend. I said, "Hey, I don't know as much about electricity as you do. Can you come and help me? And you could help me show me how to do one of these things, and show me how to do parts of it, and then let me do all the labor." And so it didn't cost me very much. He'd show up, and I'd give him a couple $100 for, 3 or 4 hours of his time, and he was happy, and I was happy, and I saved a ton of money, because to hire somebody to do all of it would have cost between probably $4,000 and $5,000. And same thing with the heating and air conditioning. It's I had a friend show up. I said, I don't know how to put the boots in the floor, and I don't know how to cut the flanges in for the tubes off the heating and cooling system. He said, "All right." So he showed me how to do it, and then I just did it a bunch of times, and saved a lot of money. So anyway, that's what my homestead is looking like. It's 2022. We're in October, and kind of an update video, and kind of showing you some different ideas of what I've learned is possible. Because some people they just show up to a piece of property and they say, "Oh my God, it's impossible." And then other people show up and say, "I'm possible. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to keep working until I achieve what I want to do." And that's what it takes to get done what you want to do. So thanks. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. The content I'm trying to share, because I really think it's important for people to realize how simple life can be, and how how important it is for us to be a little bit more independent, and how locally we have power to create the things that we want to do. So have a good day.